All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about the relationship between quarterback Jalen Hurts and head coach Nick Sirianni of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I did a topic, way back when, talking about the Eagles collapse and, Nick Sirianni's behavior, on the sidelines and, that whole thing with the security guard, getting thrown back upstairs into the booth and not being on the sidelines, and that big Dom, and that had an impact on Sirianni because he was able to, keep Sirianni's emotions in check. But, and as I say that, Siri thinks I'm talking to her instead, but I'm not on my phone because because I'm looking at my notes here. But, yeah, it's because you have, and that one kid says, "Oh God, the Eagles." Listen, I think the Eagles are going to have a bounce back year. I do, because I just think they got too much talent that, I think they're going to be good. I do. I don't think they're going to have this. I think that collapse is an aberration. Now, if the Eagles end up not doing well, Nick Sirianni's not going to be there. He's going to be gone. But yeah, in the article that I was looking at, it kind of just talked about how Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, their relationship is still a work in progress. Now, Nick Sirianni is going into his 4th season as the Eagles head coach, and Jalen Hurts has been on the team since 2020, and their relationship is still a work in progress. And the one thing that I think back to is you have to go back to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I forget what happened on what play at what point during the game where I think the Chiefs it was like a holding penalty or something, and Nick Sirianni held up his hand and he was waving him back or something, and Jalen Hurts knocked his arm down, basically telling him to knock it off. The quarterback is telling the head coach to do that. And that's what I think of when I think of this relationship being, when I see that the relationship is still a work in progress. Because Nick Sirianni, yeah, he has a fiery personality. And when you watch his opening press conference, when he first got hired by the Eagles, I did not think Nick Sirianni was going to be what he is. Shows a lot of emotion. I mean, even in that Super Bowl, during the national anthem, tears streaming down his face. And, against the Giants, that close-up of him, nodding his head at the camera, which annoyed me. But part of the reason for that is because the Giants were getting crushed in that game. That one kid says in the chat, and again, that's his name in the chat, that one kid. He says, Hurts likes that tush-push a bit too much. Well, I mean, if it works, they're going to continue to do it. Now, Jason Kelce's not there anymore, so I'm curious to see how that, plays out without him there. Because I think that's a big blow to their offensive line, and we'll see how, they do without him. I think they'll still be good. But they're going to continue to do that. But yeah, it's just the fact that this relationship is still a work in progress is a problem. And like I said, if the Eagles end up not doing well, early playoff exit, or just, they collapse again, Nick Sirianni's out of a job. Because like I said, this team is too talented. They got so much talent from top to bottom. There's no reason why this team, doesn't perform well. But you could say it's because of coaching. And maybe lack of leadership. Because now you don't have Jason Kelce there. You don't have Fletcher Cox there. You still got Lane Johnson. You got Brandon Graham. Jalen Hurts is going to try to take on more of a leadership role. Those are key guys on both lines. So that's something that concerns you a little bit, is not having those two guys in the locker room. But even when those two guys were in the locker room, they weren't playing well. So that one kid also says Eagles are probably going to go 12-5, 13-4, 14-3. Yeah, I think when I did my schedule predictions, I had them at 12 or 13 wins, in that ballpark. Because I think, they tried to improve this defense. They added to the secondary through the draft, through free agency. They added Saquon Barkley And then you still have what you already got there. You got Jalen Hurts, that offensive line, A.J.Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. You still got Brandon Graham on the defensive side of the ball. I think the Eagles are going to be a really good team this year. And I think if they play up to their level, their expectations, there's no reason why this team, isn't a Super Bowl contender. So, but what could hold them back? I think the head coach. I mean, and also Jalen Hurts last year. It was a step down from the previous year because he had 13 rushing touchdowns, 22 touchdowns to 6 picks, 3,700 yards passing, and then last year, had a little bit more passing yards with 23 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So he was turning the ball over a lot more. So you got to hope that he pulls back on that and ball security. Hold on to the football and don't throw interceptions. And that one kid also says, yeah, they were already a playoff team, and then they got a lot of new guys coming in. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think the changes that they've made with the coordinators, adding Barkley, adding guys on the defensive side of the ball, in the secondary, linebackers. I think that they're gearing up to have a really good 2024 season. I mean, there's some concerns, and you're hoping that the collapse towards the end of the year was an aberration, but you don't know. Got to see games being played. And they open up the season. Who do they open up the season against? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Who do they open up against? Oh, the Packers. Yeah, that's the second game of the year in Brazil. I'm really excited for that game. I think that game is going to be really good. The Packers, they surprised people last year. Jordan Love played really well towards the end of the year. He's a guy looking for a new contract. And then you got the Eagles, after their collapse, but they made a lot of moves. You got Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. They're on their teams now. So it's going to be fun. It should be a fun game. But actually, the other thing I wanted to bring up with the Eagles and Sirianni and Hurts is, look, ultimately, if the Eagles have a bad year, Hurts, they signed him to a long-term contract. Sirianni's going to be out, if the Eagles don't play well. So, you made that commitment to Hurts. Sirianni, he could be on his way out. There were Eagle fans that wanted him out last year after what happened with the team. And they said, well, it was because of Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, why the Eagles were really good in 22. So, Nick Sirianni's got to hope that this team, plays like how it did in the, when they were 10-1 and, the season prior when they made it to the Super Bowl and they were the 1 seed. So, yeah, I mean, that's really my opinion on it. But I do think I will say it is concerning that they're still trying to work through this relationship. Now, you could say, well, Brady and Belichick during their time didn't have and look, I mean, I'm comparing them to Brady and Belichick, but I'm just saying, Brady and Belichick, their relationship wasn't always the best either. And what happened? They still won. So, yeah, I mean, you might not have the best relationship with, the head coach and the quarterback might not have the best relationship. You just got to have a working relationship that, you can still get the job done, even though you have your differences. But you never saw Brady going up to Belichick and knocking his arm down when he's, telling the opposing team to come back because they got a holding call or something. I forget what the play was in that Super Bowl. There, you saw that was more of behind closed doors. We never really saw that side. We just only heard things, which things ended up being true, but that they didn't have the best of a relationship. But we never saw it I don't think we ever really saw it on camera. Like we saw Jalen Hurts go up to next to his head coach being a troll, and Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, telling him to knock it off. The player telling the coach to knock it off. It should be the other way around. So, but that is like the one thing that I think of when reading this is that instance in the Super Bowl. So, we'll see what happens, but you know what? The Eagles, I think they're going to be good. They're going to be good in 2024. It's going to be between them and Dallas, and they might get a top 3. They could get a top 2 seed in the NFC. I think they're a top 3 team in the NFC. It's them, the Lions, and the 49ers. That'd probably be my top 3 right now. So, let me know what you guys think, though, about this relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. What kind of season do you think the Eagles are going to have? Let me know in the comments. So, that is pretty much it for the show for today. That one kid, I appreciate the comments in the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all of our other shows, of course. Like I always say, give the other shows some love. And don't worry, we will get to football. We will get to games. They're coming up next week. We just got to wait a little bit longer. But, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.